When the iPhone 7 first released back in 2016, the world went a little bit nuts. Apple had removed the headphone jack, and that was unacceptable to most people back then, myself included. They also removed the home button in place of this capacitive haptic feedback button, and a lot of people didn't like that either. Then again, Apple put a new A10 Fusion in there and made it IP67 water resistant, so it was a bit of a polarizing phone. Some people liked it, some people hated it. But if we just put all that to the side for a second, there's actually a lot of things to like about the iPhone 7 here in 2019. Considering you can get one of these iPhone 7s on the used market for about $200 or $300 in pretty good condition, this is actually one of the cheapest iPhones that you can get with a lot of modern comforts. As of now, the phone runs the latest iOS 12.2, it's got a snappy fingerprint reader, it's really quick in terms of performance for something that came out in 2016. It's got decent cameras with up to 4K video recording on that rear camera and 1080p on the front camera, and it's got a small but good enough battery to get you through the day. The most interesting thing about the iPhone 7 though is its performance. I'm continually impressed by Apple's ability to optimize aging hardware with software, and it does an extremely good job here in 2019. When pitting the iPhone 7 against the iPhone 10, performance is actually relatively similar, which is a little bit shocking. Of course, the 10 is going to be able to load into apps a little bit quicker, it's going to be able to keep apps open a little bit longer, and that's because of the 3 gigs of RAM in the iPhone 10 versus the 2 gigs of RAM in the iPhone 7. So it's going to be a little bit quicker in pretty much everything, but what I was surprised to find out that in some simpler apps like, YouTube and Twitter and things like that, the iPhone 7 actually keeps up exactly on par with the iPhone 10. The 10 also has the advantage in things like larger apps and games and things like that as well, but not by a big margin. As I said before, you are missing the headphone jack on the iPhone 7, but I mean, every iPhone after the 7 is missing the headphone jack as well anyway, so you're not gonna get a headphone jack on the iPhone. The biggest downfall of the iPhone 7 is actually the display. This thing has a 4.7-inch 750 by 1334 Retina LCD display, and it's really small. If you're used to larger Quad HD displays, then the iPhone 7's screen is going to look a little bit toy-like at only 4.7 inches. It's not a huge deal because the PPI is still up around 326, but it's still really small here in 2019. It actually shares almost exactly the same body dimensions as the iPhone 10. They're very close in size. However, because the iPhone 10 has a much better screen-to-body ratio, the screen is actually 5.8 inches versus the 4.7 on the iPhone 7, so it looks much bigger. There's also 3 different versions of the iPhone 7 that have different storage specs. You can get a 32, like is in this one, but you can also get a 128 or a 256. Obviously, the 128 and 256 is definitely more usable, but 32 is fine for me, honestly. If you do have a lot of bigger apps, you have a lot of music or video, you take a lot of video on your phone, you're definitely going to want to spring for the much more usable 128 and 256. But then again, keep in mind that those models are going to be a little bit more expensive than this 32 gig model. The iPhone 7 also doesn't have wireless charging, and that's mainly because of this aluminum back. I really wish phones didn't have to be, glass or ceramic for wireless charging to transmit through them, because this phone just looks great in aluminum black. You also only have 1 rear camera here as opposed to 2 found on the bigger models or even the newer models like the 10. It does, however, take very good 4K video and decent photos as well, and those 2 have actually gotten better over time as iOS has updated, so that's pretty cool. The iPhone 7 is actually a good phone for the price here in 2019. I mean, if I didn't have my iPhone 10 or my Note 9 and I was stuck with this phone, I think I'd probably be okay with it. It's pretty much waterproof, it's fast, the battery gets me through the day with mild usage, it's got a 4K camera, NFC, a fingerprint reader for quick unlocking, and it runs the latest iOS version. Obviously, I'd be a lot happier with it if it had a bigger screen or a higher resolution screen or both, and a headphone jack, but I mean, for the $200 I paid for it, I can't really complain. If you're looking for a sub $300 iPhone, this one's probably your best bet. So if you like this video, hit that like button and subscribe to support my content, and as always, have a great day.